You're welcome back. The official countdown to the close of polls in the Ayawaso East by-election has officially started. We are about some 30 minutes or so to the close of polls in the Ayawaso East by-election. Let's go live on the ground and speak to my colleague Gemma Apia for us. Gemma, what can you report at this particular hour?
Right, you can see that the Robocops are ready, preparing towards the end of the polls, and the police officers are also available in their numbers. And just a few minutes ago, the Peter Boamo Tukuno, who is the former Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, walked in, and he has been monitoring the situation here at the polling stations A and B, Nima JHS1. I'm getting closer to him to have a conversation with him about what he makes of the processes so far, the voting processes so far. Mr. Boamo Tukuno, welcome to JoyNews.
Thank you. You want to pick?
That's my camera. Let's move closer to it. How many polling stations have you visited so far?
Well, this is, I think, about the third one in terms of the center, but most of them have a number of polling centers.
What do you make of the process?
Well, generally very peaceful as expected. Let me use this opportunity to commend the security services, the police service. They've done a very great job. The presence is immense, and they put very secured measures in place. Particularly if you look at this voting center, you would see that it has a main entrance where vehicles could come in, but there is no vehicle coming in. It's not allowed. The place is well barricaded, well organized. The voting process has been organized in a very seamless manner. And generally, I think that it has been very peaceful. Maybe the other downside, which is also expected, is the voter turnout. And it is expected because, again, if you look at the state of the economy, it's calm and it's doing very well. And so mostly people wouldn't want to change the order. And this is supposed to be an NDC stronghold. So you would expect that our friends in NPP would see little motivation, to vote. Then again, the risk is that if you are not careful, you have some NDC people who also feel that, okay, this is NDC stronghold, so they would not vote. But I think generally the challenge is the Ramadan, because this is a Muslim constituency. And so most people during Ramadan, and the sun is scorching, they would want to stay inside, and they wouldn't want to bear the brunt of the direct sunlight. And so I believe that some amount of the people would want to come later on in the day to come and vote and follow up to the mosque and go and do their iftar and all that. And so it's I don't think it is injurious.
You don't think the low turnout could affect the NDC's chances? I don't
think it's injurious at all. And if you have followed from morning, you would realize that during early morning, when the sunlight was not, that scorchy, a lot of people came to vote and they went home to relax. And when the sun started coming out, it went down. So I've been here a couple of minutes, and I've seen that nobody has even come to this station. Then this particular station also is located at the less populated side of the constituency. And so you would see that this polling station is just right behind the house of the former president. And that is where we call the Nima estate. You understand? So the numbers are rather low. And so when you have about 50% of the turnout, you are sure that you are getting somewhere. Generally, if you follow electoral trends, you would see that by-elections do not draw in large numbers. By-elections usually come around between 45 to 55% of voter turnout. Even where the stakes are high, you get around 55% of voter turnout. And so roughly, I am anticipating that we'll be making around 40-45% voter turnout. And if we get that, I don't think that it's a deviation from the norm. I think that it is consistent with general practice.
So even though there's low voter turnout, as you allude to, you don't think it's injurious? It's not going to affect the chances of the NDC?
Absolutely not. If I were to be NPP, I would be very worried, particularly when there is nothing at stake for me. And my people know that this is not a constituency I can win anyway. And even if I win, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't add up to anything. It doesn't make any difference in Parliament. I will be worried if I'm MPP. And I think that for the numbers, our friends in the opposition party, if they are really taking this election serious, should be rather more worried. But on the side of the National Democratic Congress, we are heavily confident. Particularly having, our electoral machine in place and knowing the people that are coming to the polling station to vote, we are exceedingly confident that we would take the day. And we are going to take the day much more significantly in terms of the percentage that we are going to use to win.
By how much percent?
Well,
the polls are saying something else. Yes. What is the NDC saying?
No, the polls are consistent with our expectations, but I believe that looking at the trend, we would win significantly, not below 60% of them.
Below 60%.
Not.
Right. Let's talk about cocoa now, because some few days we understand you were, yes, you were at the cocoa farms in the eastern region, I suppose. Yes, across the country. How many regions have you been to?
So I've been to, I think, about 11 regions. 11 regions, yes. Visiting a number of cocoa communities. Every region we try to do a number of communities, engaging the cocoa farmers and taking them through what has necessitated some actions by government, and also refreshing them on the state of the cocoa sector and what government is doing to mitigate the situation in the cocoa sector, and most importantly to accelerate their gains and returns as cocoa farmers. Their efforts are very key in this crucial time. This is not the time the cocoa farmer must be demotivated by our actions and our comments. This is the time that we need to motivate the cocoa farmer, because already the past 8 years, the cocoa farmer has been demotivated to a very large extent, and most of the cocoa farmers have sold their cocoa out to illegal miners, and some have even cut them down and they are planting rubber, some are planting coconuts and other industrial crops. And so it's important to reposition the cocoa farmer's mind to see the future of what President Mahama is seeing and what President Mahama wants to do with cocoa. And that's what we did on our journey across the country. We just arrived yesterday to Accra, and we are here today. Unfortunately, we are doing by-election, and you want me to talk about cocoa.
So quickly, the general sentiment, they're not happy, are they, that the government had to cut the producer price?
Well, it's been mixed feeling. Nobody would be happy when he's receiving a certain amount and the amount comes down. But they also appreciate the fact that the cocoa pricing is a factor of the international price, which is the FOB price. They know that we don't eat the cocoa here. They know we don't prepare ampesi or fufu with our cocoa. We sell the cocoa beans outside. They also appreciate the fact that we don't even have processing facilities to process and employ our young people. And so with the new direction of government having to process 50% of the cocoa here, it makes them more excited and hopeful. And what we sought to do, among other things in explaining what the situation is to inspire hope in the cocoa farmer, so that the cocoa farmer will know that there are more better fortunes ahead than even in the past. And we explain to them how the government is committed to making their lives better, and how is that illustrated in the price reduction. We explain to them how government is giving them 90% of the international price, the FOB price, which is historic, which has never happened since Tete Kwashi brought cocoa to Ghana. We explain to them the difficulties which cause government to even do that reduction, and how much government is guaranteeing in terms of losses having taken that decision. Government is really losing so much, close to about $2 billion, even from the last time we announced the 3,625 Ghana cedi price to the time we announced the 2,587 price. And as you go further, you would see that government is still absorbing. What our friends have sought to do with this cocoa crisis is to mislead the farmers, is to tell them that, okay, government could just sustain the price for you, and they are not sustaining. And so it makes...
But couldn't the government have done that?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Particularly if you know what is happening in the cocoa sector. We actually inherited a collapsed cocoa sector. Elsewhere in any country, they would stop producing cocoa if you really look at what we inherited in the cocoa sector. And so I am not surprised some of their own are saying that we should scrap the cocoa board, because they have collapsed it to the barest minimum where it means nothing to even have cocoa board. But we are also confident in the institutional structures of cocoa board, and we are ready to reform cocoa board to make it as strong as it is, because the existence of cocoa board is one of the key things that has made Ghana developed up to this level where people talk about Ghana, because the contribution of cocoa to our economy it cannot be overemphasized. I mean, it's most significant. And if you look at even the forex that cocoa alone brings into the economy, last year it brought $3.9 billion, even with the crisis. And that meant that is the highest in about 10 years. Highest inflow in about 10 years. And so that tells you that even in the face of crisis and all the debt situation, we were able to manage cocoa board to bring in such volumes of forex. Then it means that our strategy worked. Bear in mind that all the cocoa that we bought at the price last year, we didn't sell them at that price. We sold most of it at a loss. And I said that we have almost lost about $2 billion in the process. But that aside, you would realize that our friends had signed a rollover contract, which also has cost us to lose almost about $941 million that we would have gotten from either opportunity cost or if we had sold the beans on the market. And so all this come together. If the cocoa farmer
the point the minority has been making is that if you had sold it at the time that you were supposed to sell it, these losses would not have been. I
mean, it is most ridiculous, and it's marks of lack of understanding of the cocoa market, or maybe lack of appreciation of how the market plays. From the last time we announced the $7,200 price in August, the price had dropped every single day until now. In actual fact, when we announced the price, just less than 28 days, the price dropped by almost about $1,400. And so you cannot afford not to, make losses in those sales. Now, what our friends do not get is that for every cocoa trader who goes to the International Cocoa Exchange to trade cocoa,
that's Peter Otukono, a former Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, in an interaction with my colleague Gemma Appiah there. And the countdown, as I mentioned earlier, is still on. In less than 30 minutes, polls will close across the Ayawaso East constituency. And in a matter of hours, we will know who the new MP of that particular area is. And in the studio, I have with me Caleb Ziblim with our research desk. We're about to understand the voting trends in that particular constituency from 1992 or 1996 to 2024. Caleb Ziblim, let's run through the numbers. We know that the Ayawaso constituency has been the stronghold of the governing NDC for so many years. We want to find out what the voting trends have been, who has won in that particular constituency. But before we bring you the numbers, though, we want to understand where exactly Ayawaso constituency is on the Guinean map. There it is.
Yes. So when we talk about Ayawaso East, mainly everyone's mind goes to Nima, because that's the capital of Ayawaso East Municipal.
Right.
Nima is the capital of the Ayawaso East Municipal. So when we zoom down to the constituency, you can see that the Ayawaso East Municipal, or the constituency, is right around the Accra Central Business area.
Yeah.
It's very close to the Jubilee House. We have 37 Military Hospital in that area. So this is where Nima is. We have the Ghana Immigration Service headquarters around the same place. We have the Jubilee House. This is where the coalition is going to take place in Nima. There's a collation center right in Nima. That's where we'll be stationed after 5 p.m., where the results will be coming in. And so it's a pretty large area, about 130,000 constituents in the area. Not all of them vote, but then over 130,000 of them are in this area. It's predominantly a Muslim community, and which is why today the turnout has been a bit low, because we're in the season of Ramadan, where most of them are fasting and then taking it easy because they've lost some energy. Again, we have the new Finance Ministry headquarters, the Kanda area there. And so Nima Ayawaso East is a very big constituency, and there's been a stronghold of the NDC, like you said, and we'll get to the numbers very shortly. So been a stronghold of the NDC since at least 96. You know, in 1992, the NPP boycotted the parliamentary elections, so there was no contests in 1992, sorry. And then from 1996 going on, the NDC has won in that constituency. So we'll get to the slide very shortly. And then you see that from 1992 to 2024, the NDC has always won the seat in the area. So some might say the NDC is a bit complacent because they know that that's their seat. The way the NPP also has some of their seats in the Ashanti region, where the NDC has never won before. The same thing we have for Nima or Ayawaso East constituency. And if you look at the numbers, the last election, the NDC did very well. In 2024, the NDC got about 22,000 votes compared to the NPP's 9,000 votes. If you do percentages, the NDC won by 70%. So in 2024, that was the highest they've gotten since at least 1996. So the NDC is going to this election in a very strong position. Coming at the back of 70% of the votes, and that was the highest they had. But then again, they have changed their parliamentary candidate this time around. We don't know how the constituents in the area are going to accept, Baba Jamal coming from the NDC this time around. And again, because of the low voter turnout that we are seeing so far, we don't know if this is going to be the advantage of the NPP, because once some people from the NDC stay home and the NPP manage to get some of their members out there, and if they can take in the low turnout and the Ramadan season to their advantage, they could possibly flip the seats. But then we can see that this is an NDC stronghold.
It is indeed.
To 2004 for the NDC.
And looking at this graph, the only time that I see that the NPP came close was in the 2000 elections, where they had 43% of the vote. And that was also the only time that the NDC failed to clock the 50% margin. Quite interesting.
And in 2000, that was where there was first change of government from the NDC to the NDC after Rawlings left power. So, and in that climate, there was a shift generally. If you look at the numbers from Parliament, NPP managed to get so many seats they have not gotten before. And Ayawaso East was one of them. They almost got that seat because the margin is just about a percentage or two. 44% for the NDC and then 43% for the NPP. So a very close election. But then since then, the NDC has managed to move away from the NPP, always securing above 50% of the votes in the area, in the constituency. And again, last election was the highest. So if you're a party coming from 70% in the general election, you should know that the by-election usually should go in your favor. Now, looking at the numbers, because we've been talking about the voter turnout in the area.
Yes.
Go to the next slide. In the 2024 election, the voter turnout was about 63%. So the NDC got 22,000 votes in the. The NDC got about 22,000 votes in the main election in 2024, while the NPP got about 9,000 votes in the main election. Now the number of polling stations, we have over 113 polling stations with 49,000 registered voters, almost 50,000. And I mentioned earlier that there are about over 130,000 constituents in the area. Most of them are Muslims, and then also the occupations are predominantly services and industry occupations in the area. So we have over almost 50,000 voters that are expected to vote today, over 113 polling stations. But if we do the numbers based on 2024's turnout, we are expecting some 31,000 voters to come out in their numbers today.
So that's the number to beat in this by-election, but we all know that in by-elections, usually you have lower turnout than in general elections. So we're likely to not meet this number in this particular election, the 31,000 expected votes.
Yeah, definitely. So the 31,000 vote for the 2024 election. So we're assuming that all those that came out to vote during the 2024 elections will come out again and vote in the by-election. But then again, like you rightly said, most time by-elections, not all the constituents come out to vote. It depends on the climate. Usually they see the party won it the last time, So some constituents say that there's no need for me to go out again.
Yeah.
It also depends on the government in power. And if you look at the trend, most of the by-elections we've had, the government in power always wins. So we had Akwitia earlier this year, late last year. During the Akwitia elections, even though Akwitia is usually the NPP stronghold, the NDC managed to get a seat because, again, the NDC was in power at the time. And when your government is in power, usually the message from the party is that we are already in power, so give us the seat so that we can give you development. If we don't give us the seats, it's going to be very hard working with the opposition. Yeah. So we decided to trend some of the turnouts for previous by-elections. We have the Ascent North 2023, very controversial one with Joshua Grayson, his dual citizenship and all of that. The NDC managed to win the seats, but it was a very tight race, 74% turnout. That was one of the highest we've seen in by-elections in Ghana's history. The Ascent North by-elections in 2023. Then we have the Komowe elections, 61%. We have the Ayawaso West, and this is always an outlier because of the vigilante activities and the violence that happened. So many people stayed back, people didn't come out to vote. We had almost 20% turnout. That's the lowest we've recorded. And then we have Abetifi 2016. This was won by Brian Champong. And then the NDC did not participate in this election. So the voter turnout again was very low, 38%. And then we have Talinti, 64%. There was also some violence there, but then it was still, 64% is still very high for a by-election.
Very, very interesting numbers there. If you look at this, the only one that looks a bit closer to what the voter turnout was in 2024 in the Ayawaso East constituency is this one, right?
Talinti, yes, 60. We have 63 in the national for...
In the national for that, and then so it's around this figure. And I've seen low voter turnouts, but the Ayawaso West in 2019 is a discovery. And of course, we know all the things that happened in there where there were a lot of attacks, including the one on Sam George, who's now the Minister for Communications and Digital Innovation. Yeah,
so for by-elections, usually the turnout is lower, but then depending on the climate. And so, for instance, with Akwitia last year, the turnout was a bit lower than the national election. And then even though the NDC managed to win the seats overwhelmingly, the turnout for the NDC was larger than in the national election in 2024. So even though the entire turnout was lower, the NDC managed to get more of their members out there because their vote share increased significantly if you compare it to 2024 election. But again, it really depends on the climate and the environment we find ourselves in. It depends on the party the party tells the people. And again, coming on the back of some votes by allegations, we don't know how the NDC members in the area are going to take it. But some people say the wife of the former MP should have gotten the seats, but because of some allegation of vote buying, it went to a different NDC member. I don't know if that will come into play and whether some NDC member decide to stay home because they do not believe that that's the true reflection or that's who the constituency wanted to put up.
And we also know that a former member of the NDC has also decided to go as an independent candidate.
So the constituency chairman.
So that could also factor into this. Are we likely to see a similar number play out from any of these figures? Looking at the current trends that we're seeing low voter turnout. I don't know if anything like this could happen, 19% or something like this, 38%. Could anything like this happen?
I'm thinking we should get maybe 40 to about 50% turnout. Again, because the month of Ramadan, some of the constituents are not feeling so much energy. And again, if you look at the numbers we saw in the morning, it was not encouraging at all. The afternoon too was still not very encouraging. So much of the voting should be taking place now if the constituents wanted to come out and vote. So getting our reporters on the ground to assess the situation to see if between 3 and 5 p.m. more numbers or more people came out to vote. That's going to tell us where the turnout is going to be. But realistically, it should be around 40, 50, or if you're lucky, 60%. I think we shouldn't go beyond or below that.
Right. I'll come back to you in the studio, but let's take you straight to Ayawaso East constituency, to the Coalition Center, where my colleague Stephen Mensah is currently stationed. We understand that there's heavy security police presence there. And as you are aware, the polls are closing at 5 p.m. So any moment from now, polls will close. Stephen, what can you tell us?
Well, Ken, in some 12 minutes, polls will be closed here at the Ayawaso East constituency. What you'll be seeing are police officers. And these police officers are stationed right across from the entrance. That's the Nima roundabout, all through to entering the Coalition Center. And there's heavy police presence here, as you rightly said, all for this post. The police have already indicated that anyone who goes contrary to the law will be dealt with in accordance to the law. In some 12 minutes, as I mentioned earlier, the polls will be closing. We've been getting some reactions from the residents on what they'll be making from the next member of parliament. But then also we've been getting some reactions from many of these political actors, the NPP, the NDC, on the expectations for this elections. For them, one of them says they are expecting to win by some 70%. That will be the NDC. They say by some 70%, they're expecting to win. The election has been characterized by low voter turnout. It has been playing across most of these centers we've visited. And some 12 minutes, as I mentioned, the polls will be closed, and what we'll see here will be barricades. And these barricades are stretching all the way to the Nima roundabout, and from the Nima roundabout all through to the market. And you will see some of these police patrol vehicles, the Black Hawk, the water gun, the Mohawk, all these police vehicles stationed and splashed all across the street, all in readiness for the close of polls. We would also see the police executives also present here at this coalition center. We've got Juliana Obeng, the public relations officer for the Greater Accra Regional Division of the Ghana Police, and she has been giving explanations as to what they would be requiring for the journalists and for all observers who are here for the end of polls. I'd want to get closer to get her reactions to what has been happening and what we should expect from the Ghana Police from the end of polls. Yeah, but so far in some 12 minutes the polls will be ending. Madam Juliana, good afternoon. Some 12 minutes the polls will be ending. I just wanted to pick your thoughts. What has been your general impression of the electoral process? Okay, see, I just get her reactions on what she makes of the poll so far. What do you make of the poll so far?
So far, so very good. I think that there's been massive comportment from the polling agents, for the electoral officers, and then the police, and of course you, the media. So far, so very good. Massive comportment.
We see a heavy deployment of police officers over here. Is this really necessary?
For us as an institution, we believe in coming stronger when it comes to security arrangements. We believe that it's better to come over-prepared than under-prepared. So what you see for us is not massive. What you see for us is adequate security arrangement.
So have you recorded, I just wanted to know if you recorded any incidents of violence, intimidation, or any of the things you outlined in your statement?
So far, no, nothing of that sort has come to our attention. I have visited almost every polling station, and I have been here, the Coalition Center, for a while. We haven't had any official reports indicating that there's been pockets of violence surrounding Ayawaso East constituency by-election.
What will be the arrangements for after the elections also?
Well, so we are still in the election process. In our statement yesterday, we indicated that our deployment covers pre-post elections. And so, yes, after the elections, we continue to give massive security to the constituency, and then those are the ones that are beyond the constituency.
We'll come back to you again. Thank you so much. So that was Juliana Obeng. She's the public relations officer for the Greater Accra Division of the Ghana Police, and she has been explaining what they'll be doing in terms of security ahead and before, during and after the polls. I'd want to get the reactions of the presiding officer. We are here at the Roman Catholic School, and this center is a coalition center and also houses Roman Catholic 1, 2 and 3 polling stations. I'd want to pick her thoughts briefly on what the process has been. Auntie, good afternoon. You are from Joy. Good evening. We want to pick your thoughts so far. The electoral process, we've been with you from the start of the day. What has the process been? How has the process been?
From 7 a.m. till now, about some 8 minutes to 5. The turnout is still low. I have about 169 voters, but out of the 169, we have about only 47 voters. So the turnout is too low. Voting is not encouraging at all. And I think it's because of the fasting. And it's a working day too, so most of them didn't come. So the voting day, it's not encouraging at all. We are almost closing, so.
How about the whole process? How has the process been? People coming inside?
It's cool, it's cool. No any misunderstanding, no argument, nothing. It's smooth. Yeah.
Thank you so much, madam. So that was the presiding officer for the Electoral Commission for the Roman Catholic School 1. And she is one of the 3 polling stations here at the Roman Catholic School and also the Coalition Center. In some roughly 8 to 7 minutes, polls will be ending here and the coalition will begin. This is what we can say is characterizing the close of polls for the Ayawaso East by-elections for today.
Well, thank you very much, Stephen Mensah there. He's a man on the ground at the Coalition Center in the Ayawaso East constituency. And if you are an electorate there and you are yet to vote, well, you have a little about 5 minutes to vote because polls close very shortly. And that has been it. Our continuous coverage of the Ayawaso by-election continues here on JoyNews. My name is Kenneth. Jesse Faustina Safo is standing by to take you through from 5 p.m. until the results are declared after this.
Well, this is our continued coverage of the Ayawaso East by-election. In a matter of minutes, polls would have closed in that constituency, drawing the curtain on a tense and closely watched by-election. Today, 49,966 registered voters were expected to cast their ballots across 113 polling stations in a bid to elect a new member of parliament following the passing of the NDC MP for the area, Naza Ture Mahama, in January. Well, now, while the atmosphere has largely been calm, security, we know, has been visibly tight. Police officers have maintained a strong presence at several polling centers. A reminder that this is a contest no party is taking lightly. Well, interestingly, voter turnout has been a mixed bag. At some centers, the process moved steadily. At others, it was more of a slow burn, with officials waiting patiently as only a handful of voters trickled in. Well, still, this by-election has certainly set tongues waggling, and as counting begins in some of the centers, we'll be taking their live, touching base with our reporters on the ground. Fatal Bayaga, Stephen Mensah, Jacqueline Ansumayebwa, and Gemma Pia, all on the ground as we speak. And once polls end at 5 p.m., they would be joining us. Well, let's take you back to the grounds. My colleague Gemma Pia is there for us. One of the polling centers we understand the IGP is visiting as we speak. Gemma, over to you.
Faustina, so we are live at the Nima JHS 1 polling stations A and B. The IGP just arrived with his men and they are looking or monitoring the situation. We will speak to him if we get the opportunity to do so. Polls have closed. Just shortly ago, polls closed. We will get closer to him and then speak to him about what he makes of what his men have done so far at Ayawaso East constituency, the by-election. He's greeting his men and walking to polling station B, where we understand polls have closed. I am with the men currently, and he's going to greet them and find out what the situation has been so far. We will get his comments shortly after he has done so. Here at Nima JHS 1 polling stations A and B, a number of police officers are here, more than 30 of them. We also have the Robocop also here. Right, so this is a conversation between the presiding officer and the IGP about what has been happening so far, how his men has conducted themselves, here at the polling center, Nima JHS A and B. On the other side, the officials have polls have closed. They have packed their election materials, and we know that sorting and counting will begin. That's a handshake between the IGP and the presiding officer. We'll get close and try and get his comments. Comments about this particular by-election and what he makes of it. This is the IGP Christian Tete Nyohonu at the Nima JHS 1 polling stations A and B, together here with his men, monitoring what they have done. We don't know for sure if this is the first polling station that he has visited, but what we do know is that he's with smiles and exchanging pleasantries with, this is the NADMO Director General. So, yes, the IGP, thank you so much. This is JoyNews. Thank you so much for joining us. What has been your assessment of the voting process?
Okay, so far, as you can see, the IGP is on the grounds to monitor how the election has gone so far. His officers' operations and also the Accra Regional Commander has also been on the ground with his team. From the beginning of polls till now, everything has been peaceful. It shows that the security measures that were put in place have really yielded the expected results. Also, all the stakeholders that we work with, everybody has played their part, and we've recorded one of the most peaceful by-elections so far. We are preparing to go for collation, and we are anticipating that the process will continue as it has been up until this time.
How many men do you have on the ground currently?
We usually know it's part of our deployment strategy. We don't like to put out the numbers, but you have been around. You can tell that we had deployed adequately to cater for any eventuality, but thankfully everything has been peaceful.
Did you record any acts of violence in any of the polling stations?
So far, nothing recorded.
So today has been largely peaceful. Are we going to see the same in 2020? That's why it's going to be a bigger one.
I think that is going way ahead of ourselves, but that is what we are anticipating, that we are all learning as Ghanaians how to conduct ourselves during polls. That is a matter of exchange of ideas and everybody coming to express their choice. And so on our part as police officers, the necessary measures, the necessary deployment that we need to put in place, we have done so, and we are hoping that going forward, we will be getting better with our election security management. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So you heard Grace Kofi, the head of communications for the police, and she said no incidents of violence have been recorded. The process have been largely peaceful. The men in the numbers stationed at the various polling stations to ensure that this process is smooth and peaceful. They are happy about how the police have conducted themselves so far. Going to the sorting and counting, they are still going to remain here at the constituency in the numbers to ensure that everything is brought under control. We tried to speak to the IGP, but unfortunately he deferred that to Grace Kofi to speak to us. So polls have closed, as I told you earlier, and you can see that the election officials are yet to open the ballot box and begin sorting and counting. But yes, polls have closed. You can see that the presiding officer trying to cut all the tapes and get into the ballot box and begin the sorting and the counting. That's a polling station B. We also, on the other side, polling station A, they also have started the sorting and counting. So this is the situation here. Polling station A here, and that place is polling station B. So the party agents are actually here going to witness the counting. The police have started to barricade this place, and you can see them, the Robocops, the police officers in their headgear and the shield, ready to ensure that there is peace and security as they go into the counting, the crucial hours of this by-election. So this is the situation here at Nima JHS 1 police stations A and B. The police, I've told you, are here in their numbers, and behind me, right behind me, is the election official together with the party agents sorting the ballots, and then counting will follow shortly. This is JoyNews, their special coverage of the Ayawaso East by-election, and we are here at Nima JHS 1.
Thank you so much, Gemma. And we're expecting that once officially counting commences, we'll be back at your station, Nima JHS 1, polling station A and B, just to look at what exactly the results are. Let me take you now to my colleague Jacqueline Ansumayewa. She's also in the Ayawaso East constituency. Jacqueline, where are you and what can you report now that officially polls have ended?
Okay, Faustina, so currently I'm at the Nima post office, and what you can see in the shot right now is the sorting, which is currently ongoing, but the counting hasn't started yet. But we currently know that this very polling station, it was expected that expected voters here was 526, but in all, the people who came here to vote was 239 at the Nima post office, and we've seen this. Results or these voter turnout in a couple of polling stations that I moved from to come to this very place. But where I'm currently stationed at, on the same enclave, if you move down there are other polling stations down there that I'll be moving to shortly. But what you can see in the shot right now is that they're currently doing the sorting, then voting would begin right here at the Nima post office, Faustina.
To how that will pan out. So far, what's the atmosphere on the ground, especially with supporters? We can see in short, very optimistic, looking forward to the results. What have they been telling you?
Well, everybody just came out here to find out who would be leading the constituency, because what we realized in the afternoon was that most people told us that they would be coming out in the afternoon to vote. So when we got here, it was 20 minutes before polls, and we saw a couple of people trooping in here to cast their ballot, but then they are all anxious awaiting the final results to make sure that whoever that they cast their ballots for today emerges the ultimate for today's election in Ayawaso East.
And we know that today's polls have been largely peaceful in some of the polling centers. Is that the case at your end?
Yes, Fatina. So it's been largely peaceful. I mean, the security is really tight here. We could see some of the police personnel in the Robocop, and it's been tight, especially at the collation center. We were initially there, but it looks like this time around they've given out 2 accreditations. You know, the collation center also served as a polling center for 3 polling stations. So they gave accreditations for, the general coverage, and then they gave another accreditation out for the inner perimeter, which will serve as the collation center. So security largely at most of the polling stations around in Ayawaso East. Most of the places that we've been to, it's been really tight here. We haven't had any incidents of someone coming here to slap anyone or anyone coming in here to be assaulted.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. And Sumaye, we are looking forward to the outcome of today's polls. Once we get official signal that counting has commenced at your center, we'll be back at you just to get the results, because they'll be trickling in fast soon. We've just been on the ground touching base with our correspondents. If you just tuned in, this is our extensive coverage of the Ayawaso East by-election. Well, we have been hearing from the researchers. They predict a win for the NDC candidate, Baba Jamal. But then the NPP candidate, he's quite optimistic that he's the man for the job. He's also been in that constituency for a while doing his groundwork. And so we're looking at how that will pan out. Well, we know that Musa Dankwa predicted 75% win for Baba Jamal. But then the question we're asking tonight is that, looking at the low turnout of voters, how will that impact the results? We'll be delving into that when our data team come into the studio as we look at the figures, the numbers, especially because we'll be crunching the numbers here on the JoyNews channel. We're also live on Joy 99.7 FM. We're live on all our social media handles. We're JoyNews on TV. As you can see on your screen, sorting is underway in most of the constituencies, and we'll be touching base with our reporters, because once sorting is done, the next phase will be the counting of the ballot and then the declaration of the results. We heard from the Electoral Commission tell us earlier that they are ready for the outcome of the elections. They tell us that their team, we could see on your screens right now, their team, they're ready, and they're going to be giving us the results shortly. Also, you can trust us that we'll be giving you those results here accurately, because our men are on the ground. And so once the results start trickling in from all the polling centers, we'll be crunching the numbers here on the JoyNews channel just to tell you what exactly you should expect. But we know that in this constituency, the Ayawaso East constituency, about 49,966 voters are registered in this constituency. But then we know today that turnout has been quite poor. Musa Dankwa, in his survey, interviewed and sampled about 972 individuals in that constituency. And so the question will be asking him, looking at the numbers, that number is less than 2% of the total voters expected in Ayawaso East. Looking at the turnout today, very poor based on what we heard from the presiding officers. Will that impact his prediction? We'll be delving into that when he joins us in the studio. We'll also be speaking to analysts here as we look at why exactly Ayawaso East is crucial for both the ruling party, the NDC, and the opposition, the NPP. You could see strong presence on the ground. We heard from the likes of Rashid Tango Computer, who is the head of IT, deputy head of IT and elections for the NDC, tell us that they're winning this hands down. We've also heard from the NPP side. They tell us that they're optimistic that this seat is theirs. Will they pull up a surprise, especially now that turnout has been low? That's a question we'll pose to them when they join us later. All of them are getting ready, supervising the process, just to join us later on the show and give their thoughts about what is happening. We'll be touching base with our reporters shortly on the ground just to get a sense of what is happening. But we're giving you visuals, live visuals from polling centers here on your screen just to understand what exactly is happening. So you can share your thoughts with us on all our social media handles. We're JoyNews on TV. If you have questions, we'll be glad to take them for our guests who will be joining us in the studio. And I told you our research team will be coming in the studio shortly. Just to look at the numbers. We started that with Ken in the studio, just looking at what the voter trend has been so far. But then we'll be back to discuss that because that is quite crucial. Stephen Mensah is my colleague on the ground. Let's go back to him. Earlier, he spoke to one of the police personnel there. Tell us that they are indeed pleased with the turnout today of police personnel and so far security on the ground. Stephen, what can you report?
Well, Faustina, over here at the Roman Catholic School, voting has ended. And what you see right behind us will be the sorting of the votes. Currently, it's ongoing, and this is one of the polling centers, 3 of them being at the Roman Catholic School here in Nima. The voting ended at exactly 5 p.m. And we'll be expecting the Inspector General of Police here at the Coalition Center in some few minutes. We've got an indication from the Public Relations Officer of the Greater Accra Regional Division of the Ghana Police Service. And she says he will be joining us pretty soon. Cameras are mounted in anticipation of him. But then currently what we can report will be that voting has ended and sorting is ongoing at the 3 polling stations here at the Roman Catholic School here in Nima.
And currently, Stephen, so far we've reported low turnout at other polling centers. Is that the case at your end?
Yes, so for the Roman Catholic School polling station 1, we spoke to the presiding officer for that polling station, and she says out of the 169, about 50 of them had voted at the time we spoke to her. That would be around 5 p.m. And she says that about 50 of them had come to vote at the time we spoke to them. And she attributes the fact to the low turnout fact to be maybe due to the Ramadan season being from the Muslim community and the fasting period being from all the religion factions, the Lent and the Muslim Ramadan. She says that may be a contributing factor to the low vote turnout. I think this cuts across because we've been to 3 or more of these voting centers and it cuts across low voter turnout for almost all the voting centers, the polling stations you've visited. But what we can see will be the police task force, and these police task force are in front of the Coalition Center, and some are present in the premises where the counting and sorting is ongoing. You'll be seeing us in your shots, they've been arranged for the sorting and for security arrangements here in the Coalition Center.
And we see heavy police presence in our shots. We're looking forward to how the official declaration of results will pan out there. But have you engaged any of the voters who feel threatened by the presence of the police?
No. So for most of these voters we've spoken to, they are feeling of encouragement or appraisal to the Ghana police for the presence here in the constituency. They say it's quite a good one. It provides them the sense of security for most of these voters we've spoken to. And these voters say this is good for the development of the constituency.
I see. And we're looking forward to the outcome of that. On your shots now, you can see there heavy security presence as sorting is underway in one polling station in the Ayawaso East constituency. We're looking forward to official counting and then declaration of results. We are your election headquarters. And so we will be here with you throughout the process until a member of parliament is declared for the Ayawaso East by-election. We also told you that we would be engaging Musa Dankwa shortly just to look at the turnout and if this indeed would impact the outcome of his prediction. He predicted a win for the NDC parliamentary candidates. And so we'll be going to him shortly to have that conversation. We also have a rep from the NDC and the NPP in the studios. We'll just look at what we should be expecting. Well, you know that on the ballots, the NDC parliamentary candidate, Baba Jamal, is number 1. We know the Liberal Party of Ghana and their candidate, Ibrahim Idrisu, is number 2 on the ballot. You see Baba Ali of the New Patriotic Party is number 3. Independent candidates Alhaji Mohammed Umar Sanda and David Kano, they occupy the 4th and 5th positions respectively. And so we're looking forward to how today's polls will turn out. So far, we know that polls have ended, counting underway at some centers, sorting underway at some centers, and results will be trickling in soon. We'll be here to give you the numbers as soon as we have it. Well, joining me now in the studio is Salam Mustafa, his national organizer, youth organizer for the NPP. You've been on the ground. I can see your tag, monitoring, observing the process so far. How is it looking like for your candidate?
First of all, good evening to you and your very cherished viewers. I think it's looking good for our candidate. I have worked with him essentially most part of today, and I am quite happy with the reception that we got going around greeting people and reminding them, you know, of the need to step out and vote, and the sort of reception that was accorded him and the promises made to him that, oh, indeed, we have voted already, or we'll be heading out to the polls very soon, and we shall remember you. So I think by and large, I can say that the candidate of the NPP, Baba Ali Yusuf, has enjoyed quite a good run. And I am very hopeful that the day would end well for him. But be it as it may, I want to say that as we speak, it's been incident-free, it's been very peaceful, and I think that it is commendable that we say so to buttress the point that by-elections don't need to be violent, and elections in general do not need to generate violence. At the end of the day, I'm sure we are going to leave behind a very peaceful society, like we have all come in, walked through the constituency in the days past, waged campaigns and so on and so forth. So I'm very happy that today has gone extremely, extremely well, incident-free, and I'm sure every watcher would say same, except to add that turnout has been very, very low. I mean, once you step on the ground, it's quite clear to you that there's a problem as far as turnout is concerned. And I'm sure that as we progress, we will be looking at some of the issues that might have overly affected the turnout in this particular instance. But I think it's quite a source of concern that the turnout is extremely low. And will this affect your candidate in any way, especially because you're optimistic you'll win the seat? Well, as sorting and counting is underway, I believe that from the responses that we have received on the ground, from the period of campaign to this very minute, that sorting and counting is underway, I think that the preponderance of the responses point to a vote for Baba Ali, because when you go to campaign and the people tell you that, well, this constituency, we have voted for the NDC all these years, since 1992 or so, and look at the state of our constituency. Even when we know that usually in the period of by-elections, you see governments try to, play some shenanigans and, provide one or two infrastructure or developmental programs. This one, nothing, not even a Pegas has been sent to Ayawaso East. Not a shovel has been sent there to even give the people hope that we will try and deal with the myriads of issues that affect you. This one is nil. So it's either they have overly taken the people for granted, or they have sensed that the people are repulsive of the NDC and have given up completely on the constituency. And I shudder to believe that the people who have complained to us over the period, the neglect and taking for granted by the NDC, will still line up and vote for them in multitudes like we saw in the last elections in December 2024. So I am quite upbeat, whether the turnout being high or low, Baba Ali still stands a very good chance of winning. Other comments you hear is the fact that they will tell you that, oh, as for Baba Ali, we know him. He was born and bred here. We grew up with him. He sleeps here, drinks here, plays here, does everything here. He is not somebody who has come from outside and is being thrown at us to take in hook, line, and sinker. But that this is a bona fide member of our community. And therefore, we believe that he is a good representation of the aspirations of the people of Ayawaso East, Nima, Mamobi, and East environs. That those born there and raised equally can rise up to leadership and occupy such dignified positions. It doesn't need to take someone who is established like Baba Jamal, who has been MP before in Akwetia. Until recently, he was the High Commissioner to Nigeria, that, you know, he is more favorable, you know, even though you have somebody who was born and bred in the constituency. So there are vexed issues on the ground that maybe as we interrogate the issues further, whether it dovetails into the low turnout or not, because these are some of the responses from the ground. And it is interesting to see how the final numbers will look like.
And we know that when it comes to the recent polls put out by Global Info Analytics, they tell us that they held this survey between late February till the 1st of March. They're predicting a win for Baba Jamal. You don't think that that is actually going to affect the outcome of today's elections, knowing fully well that the individuals they sampled feel that Baba Jamal is the man for the job?
That was a work of projection. But we have the actual before us. So I would wait for the actuals and see what it says. Then we can digest that further. But be it as it may, not long ago, the head of Global Info Analytics missed his prediction as far as the primaries was concerned. So it tells you that the work is not sacrosanct.
Okay.
And that it is subject to one or two factors. And I can tell you that even a day can make a whole difference.
And that day is today. But I'll come back to you to make that point. Let me take you now to the ground. Fatal Bayaga is on standby. We know that sorting is underway and counting. We know the results are even trickling in some polling centers. Fatal, what can you report on the ground?
Carlos, IGPCO.
The moment is over here at this particular polling station. In fact, the EC has finished counting the results at the moment, and that crucial moment is drawing closer, as we get into the final pitch of this particular election. So, Faustina, the polls here are over, and this is the Kanda Estate 2 and 3 Primary School 2. That's and then the results so far that have trickled in, or the results that we have so far. Baba Jamal polled 59 votes in this particular polling station. Baba Ali Yusuf of the NPP polled 40 votes. LPG 0. Omar Sanda had 0. David Kano had 4. Rejected ballots 1. So these are results that we've just gotten here as far as the counting is concerned at this particular polling station. Let me take that over. MPP's candidate, Baba Yusuf Ali, had 40 votes. NDC's candidate, Baba Jamal had 59 votes, LPG 0, Omar Sanda 0, David Kano 0, and then 1 rejected ballot. So that's the results that we have here at this particular polling station, and we are going to monitor others as the results begin to trickle in across the constituency. So that's the situation there. EC officials are now, trying to fill the pink sheets, and then the various agents here would sign the pink sheet. But let me just try to engage some of the agents here to get their thoughts as far as so they are quite busy. Firstly, we would get that for you later. But let's also try to see if we can engage some of the people here at the polling station just to get their thoughts as far as this particular election is concerned. Some of them quite excited there about the voting process, seeing that Baba Jamal is, as far as this particular polling station is concerned, has won with about 9 votes. But they're expecting that maybe as the polls, begin to close across the constituency, Baba Jamal will win this particular election. Thank you very much. You're live on JoyNews. You observe the process here. What do you make of the results that we're seeing here at this particular polling station?
Though we've won, I'm not happy with the turnout because we put in a lot of work, thinking people will come out to vote. But anyway, it's a normal thing for with how do you call it, by elections. Normally the turnout is always low, but we accept it like that.
Baba Jamal, he in fact was involved in so many controversies. Some people say that it might affect his chances in this particular election. In fact, at this polling station, the difference here was just 9 votes. Do you think that there is so much confidence that he would?
Is it 9 or 19?
9 votes.
No.
19 votes actually.
Yes. Oh, it is not about any. When you say controversy, a lot of controversies. How do you mean? Can you come clear?
Yes, during the NDC's primaries, you saw what happened. Alleged, vote buying and all of that.
And how do you define vote buying? How do you define vote buying?
But giving out things just to induce, to try to convince them to vote for you.
How do you know whether what he was giving was to induce the voters to vote? Look, the truth is that he had people who were supporting him, were going around with him campaigning, normally about 70 to 80. They were the only people he gave the television. We will have over 1,000 plus delegates.
But it doesn't matter. He tried to, convince those people.
No. That is, they worked for him.
Those people were not of delegates.
No, even if they were delegates, delegates who will still campaign for you.
But was it appropriate to give those items on the election day?
Was it at where? Where did he do the distribution?
That very morning.
At where?
We saw people carrying television sets within the constituency.
But not at the polling, not at the voting center.
It doesn't matter. People came out. They came out holding the television sets and saying that they got that from Baba Jamal.
But he did not. He himself said he gave out gifts. And
was it appropriate?
Somebody has worked for me, and the DD have to definitely when you work they have to pay you. He gave them money and television. It is not if we wanted to buy votes, we are giving to all the.
So you think he did nothing wrong?
No, he did nothing. Who we've been in Ghana here? Which of the parliamentarians or even the presidency hasn't given us money?
2 wrongs don't make a right.
No, hasn't been happening.
But 2 wrongs don't make a right. If it's wrong, it's wrong.
Should we crucify Baba Jamal for doing it, or we should wait somebody to come again? Fine, let's forget about that one. Election has happened, and this has 1 year. Though the turnout was low, we are okay with it.
You're okay with the vote. Do you think that Baba Jamal will win generally?
He's winning. You see, all these polling centers within the Kanda electoral area are NPP stronghold. And NDC, so far, we've gotten about almost 9 within the Kanda and 37. Baba Jamal has won all. And it wasn't NDC stronghold. But as he has won, when we go to Nima, all those votes are for Baba Jamal.
Thank you. What's your name?
Roberta Wuni. I'm the Deputy Communication Officer.
For the constituency?
Yes, for the constituency.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. So, firstly, you just heard the Deputy Communication Officer of the NDC here in the constituency defending Baba Jamal strongly here at this particular polling station. So, we are monitoring all the developments, firstly, and we'll bring you all the updates as far as the voting, the results, and all the things about this election is concerned.
Thank you so much. Fatal Bayaga on the grounds, just giving us updates. as to what exactly transpired at the Kanda polling station. He tells us that the NDC is leading in that polling station with 59 votes, the NPP following closely with 40 votes. We know that LPG and Umaru Sanda all recorded 0, and then 4 went to David Kano. The rejected ballot 1 according to Fatal Bayaga. Let's take you now to another polling center. My colleague Stephen Mensah is on standby. Stephen, what can you report on the ground? Well, hopefully we have clear connection to Stephen Mensah now, who's on the ground. Stephen, what can you report in your polling center? Well, if you just tune in, this is our live coverage of the Ayawaso East by-election. We're live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 125. We're live on Joy 99.7 FM. We're streaming on all our social media handles. We're JoyNews on TV. In the studio, I have Salam Mustafa. He is National Youth Organizer for the NPP, and he's just been sharing his thoughts about the results that we've just been receiving from the polling centers. My colleague Gemma Pia is on the ground as well. She's at the Nima GHS 1 polling center, and she has sent results for A and B. For the NPP, Baba Ali, 25. For the NDC, Baba Jamal at the Nima GHS 1 polling center. Baba Jamal, 59. LPG, 0. Independent candidate, Umar Sanda, 1. And independent candidate, David Kano, 0. Rejected ballots, this is shocking, 85. No, total number of ballots cast, 85, I beg your pardon, no rejected ballots. Just to clarify that, thank you so much for that clarification, Gemma. And we'll also be touching base with Stephen Mensah shortly. Stephen, I'm told I have clear connection to you. Stephen, what can you report in your polling center?
Yes, Faustina, so here at the Roman Catholic School, 3 polling stations, as you reported earlier, are housed in this collation center. And some minutes ago, the IGP walked in, and he'll be doing this inspection. He's being given a briefing. We are expecting him to address the press pretty soon, but he'll be doing an inspection of the tactical force who are present here at the polling station. Currently, voting has ended and sorting is done. The IGP is in a briefing with some of the police executives inside. What we are seeing will also be that ballot boxes are being escorted or brought back into this collation center. I think that will be for the sorting and the counting of the election votes. But what we know currently will be that the IGP is here at the collation center. He's been given a briefing. He'll be addressing the press pretty soon.
I'm sure you've been engaging some of the voters there. What are the expectations?
Can you come again?
Do I have clear connection to Stephen Mensah? Stephen, I want to find out what voters are telling you as they await the results from that polling station, Roman Catholic Center. What are they telling you? Unfortunately.
Yes. So for many of these voters, they'll be expecting a better turnout for their candidates. That will be, I've spoken to members of the NDC and the NPP, and they've been telling us what they'll be expecting from the next member of parliament come once the voting and the counting and the sorting and everything is done. But right about now, I have Mustafa Bande right here with us. I'd want to engage him on what he makes of the electoral process so far. So
I think that so far it's been very peaceful, and it reflects the political atmosphere that the NDC intends to maintain as far as our country is concerned. We've learned in the past by-elections And authorities have assured you all that the NDC will perfect by-elections with all arrangements to ensure that there will be violent-free by-elections. And I think this one is one of such examples that the whole day we have not encountered any issue of violence, even though people perceive that this is the community where there will be violence and all of that. I also think that the police have done their work as they are expected. They have also learned from the past. If you look at the conduct of the Electoral Commission officers, they've been very professional. They've done what they have to do. You, the media yourselves, have done what you have. So basically, I think there has been a very successful atmosphere.
Some NPP stalwarts that came here have been speaking. They say that the low voter turnout in a traditional NDC area is because the NDC is not performing.
But why did they contest the election? If it is a traditional NDC constituency, then why did they contest? There is no constituency that is a traditional constituency for anybody. For us, we believe that if 100 people have casted their votes, 80% or 70% of them would vote for the NDC. It reflects the mood of the nation against the NPP. The NPP would never be forgiven of what they have committed against the people of Ghana. There are those who believe that they should be prosecuted. There are those who believe that they have not yet been arrested and so they are gaining their voice. But society will never forgive the NPP for what they have done. And so that saying that is a traditional NDC community and that there is low voter turnout, they don't learn. If you learn, you will know that in every by-election, the turnout usually comes low. 2, the exigencies of time we find ourselves. Muslims are fasting. We just have had to do elections in a typical Muslim community where people are fasting. Christians are also in their Lent. Most Christians are fasting. So we can have 80% of this community being Muslims. They are fasting. So these largely could account for one of the reasons why we have a low voter turnout. But irrespective of whatever turnout, the majority of the people who have voted today obviously will vote for the NDC. The NPP executive knows that they have no space in this election. They agree that they haven't contested this election, but they merely needed a platform to showcase their presence, just so we know that they are still a political party existing. It is not because they want to win this seat. They know that.
Your brother Salam Mustafa doesn't agree with you on this. He says, in fact, the Ghanaian public would be giving Nana Akufo-Addo, the previous governor, former president, his stones. They'll be giving him all the praise he needs because he has done much for the country. In the history
of our country, Nana Addo is unpardonably the most corrupt president we have ever seen, who have led a regime of young people who have defrauded this country. We all know that we've lived this testimony. We've lived the experience. We've seen it. We've experienced the haircuts. We've experienced the Ajapadia and etc. We've seen the unprecedented levels of corruption. And so clearly, it is not about giving Nana Addo a stone. It's about coming to accept that he led a fraudulent regime against the people of Ghana.
Do you still stand by your 70%?
Come again.
Do you still stand by the 70% projection?
Yes, I stand by that. And you will see after the counting what the results will be.
Thank you so much. So, for Sina, the IGP is done with his meeting with the police officials. He did an inspection of the tactical force. We're expecting him to give us a briefing as to what he makes of the electoral process so far and the deployment of the police to this constituency, the Ayawaso East constituency, given that the police said that they will deal with any individual who does not act in accordance with the law in terms of violence, intimidation, or undermine the integrity of the electoral process. So very soon we'll be getting a briefing from the IGP or the Ghana Police Service on what he makes of the whole process. We'll be getting addressed by the PRO for the Ghana Police Service, Grace Akofi. But then before that, we've been speaking to some of the residents prior to this election, before, during and after, and they say that they would be expecting more from the next member of of Parliament in terms of infrastructure, in terms of sanitation and education. I want to cut through to this, the PRO for the Ghana Police Service is addressing the press.
What are his general impressions as to preparations in there?
Okay, so as we usually do it, the IGP would always like to hit the ground and ensure for himself that the deployment that we put in place, the measures that we deployed, are men on the ground and everything is going as expected. So far, you have been here, you have monitored the election from beginning to now. The IGP is on the ground, the regional commander, operations, our officers and the men, everybody is here. And you can all testify that this has been one of the most peaceful by-elections that we have witnessed as a country, and we are very happy with how things have gone so far. And as polls have closed and we are getting ready for the collation, we are confident that our deployment at the collation center is adequate to cater for any eventuality.
In terms of what you've seen across the 114 polling stations as well, this is just the collation center. What are the reports you've picked up, if any, in relation to the exercise
So we've been through a number of polling stations, and just as you have all observed, the election was very peaceful.
What about the deployment of tactical forces? Was that too necessary?
It's always necessary to be adequately prepared. So we deployed. If anything had happened, our men would have been prepared to respond sufficiently. Thankfully, everything went peaceful. We haven't recorded any incidents at all, and we are happy. It means that our deployment have worked. It means our stakeholders have played their parts well. And let me also commend the people of this constituency for having comported themselves very well. As we grow as a nation in our electoral processes, we hope that everybody learns that election is not about fighting, it's not about violence, it's just about come and cast your votes, make your choice, and let peace prevail.
Thank you so much. So that was the public relations officer of the Ghana Police Service, and she has been given a briefing as to what she makes of what has been said in the meeting between the Inspector General of Police and the executives or officials from the Ghana Police Service. And right about now, you would notice that the electoral boxes are being brought into the collation center, and pretty soon the voting, the counting and sorting of this will begin. But then, as I mentioned earlier, right before the press briefing, we'll be speaking to some of the Ghanaian public in this constituency, the Ayawaso East constituency, and they tell us that they'll be expecting an improvement in infrastructure, in education, in the reduction in social vices here in this constituency. For some of them, they are concerned about the low voter turnout. For some, they would really want to see the next member of parliament act well or pretty much good in their favor. What we'll see here at the collation center will be the tactical force prepared, standing on guard. You would see sorting ongoing. This center served as a polling station for.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for that update. On your screens now, you could see the PRO of the Ghana Police Service, Grace Ansah, just giving updates. She tells us that based on their checks, the IGP has been visiting some polling centers in the Ayawaso East constituency, and they say so far no incident has been recorded. They are applauding the citizens of the constituency for conducting themselves in such a manner that did not record any incident. Let me take you now to another polling center. My colleague Jacqueline Ansmayebo is on the ground for us. Jacqueline, what can you report in your center? Jackie, you have to unmute for me to hear it clearly.
Well, so I'm still in the same enclave as I told you earlier, and the results for the polling station that I was at the Nima post office after the counting, which expected voters was 256. After that, the NDC had 92, LPG had 8, MPP had 72. The first independent candidate, Umaru Sanda, had 53, and the second independent, David, had 1. Total rejected ballot was 6. And another polling station in the area, which is St. Timothy Anglican Church. The NDC had 97, LPG had 0, NPP had 13, Independent candidate Sanda had 14, Independent candidate David had 0, rejected ballot 0-2. I'm yet to get the results for this very, okay, so I have it here. My colleague has given it to me here. And this place is the Tahani Islamic School. And after the counting, NDC had 90, and LPG had 7, MPP had 26. The independent candidate Sanda had 90, and the independent candidate David had 0, rejected ballot also 0. And in this very polling station, the expected voters here was 213. So I'm still moving in the enclave. If you move down there, if you pan the camera down there, you realize that down there we still have people coming down yet to get there to find out the results of that very polling stations down there. We have roughly about 4 polling stations down there that I'm yet to get the results from.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. And we'll be back at your center shortly for other results as well. If you just tuned in, this is the live coverage of the Ayawaso East by-election. We are your election headquarters. So far, we're touching base with our reporters on the ground. We know that results are already trickling in, and we've been giving you some of the figures here on the JoyNews channel from some of the centers. We went to Nima, we went to Kanda. I have Salam Mustafa with me in the studio. Are you threatened by the numbers we're seeing? It appears that your opposition candidate is doing quite well.
No, I'm not. I'm not at all. Until all the numbers are put together, these bits and pieces would not tell the entire story. So I would wait for all the polling stations to come together. Then we can look at the numbers very well. We have well over 100, polling stations there. I think about 111 or 113.
113.
And 13 polling stations. So it's a long journey, and few polling stations cannot tell the story yet. But be it as it may, I see, some of the places, our candidate making very strong showing than we saw in the previous elections in December. But it is early to say yet. I will still be cautious and wait for the full numbers to unravel for us to see the actual pattern. Then we can put meaning to it. For now, it's too early to say that it's a foregone conclusion. I still hold my brief.
We heard from my colleague on the ground, Fatal Bayaga, interact with some of the executives on the NDC side. They tell us that in areas like Kanda, which is actually one of the strongholds for you as the NPP, they're already recording a win for the NDC. Looking at the turnout in that area, what do you think went wrong based on the briefing you received? I know it's quite early, but I'm sure you are talking with individuals on the ground. Yes,
I was in the Kanda area. Today, actually being the elections day, I went around Kanda, and in the previous period of campaigning as well. And like it was mentioned, it is a place that the NPP enjoys some amount of support. I have already mentioned, turnout has been excessively low. And right from morning, I think that some of us have been a bit alarmed with the numbers that generally have turned out to vote. I struggle to believe that turnout would be more than 30–35%. And that would be extremely problematic. Either the people are extremely disappointed in the governance going on, or for whatever reasons, maybe the way that the primaries of the NDC was run, the cascading effect is what we have seen in the extreme low turnout that we are witnessing today. Because where in our history it's so glaring, so bare that vote buying is going on. It's an unspoken rule, essentially, but where there's evidence to it, clear cut, done in our faces, it tends to put people off because, and some of the comments we heard in Nima, Mamobi, and the environs going around, you cannot share 10,000 to people, motorbikes, TVs, and then ask others to come and vote for free. These days, voters are becoming very sophisticated, and that they tend to believe that they do not enjoy anything, they do not benefit directly from going to the polls.
But your vote is your power.
Exactly. But
is that not
they find it difficult to connect that. And I also mentioned to you in my opening remarks that this election is a bit bizarre, that government has not come in with any form of hope for the people, that the broken infrastructure and lack of development is acknowledged by leadership, and that some attempts will be made to ameliorate the situation.
Okay, stay with me. Let me bring in another guest join the conversation via Zoom. From the NDC, we have Osman Ayariga, is Deputy National Youth Organizer for the NDC. He's also CEO of the National Youth Authority. We appreciate your time here on the Joy News channel. You've been on the ground all day monitoring the turnout of voters, not impressive. But then, are you concerned this may impact the overall results that the NDC is expecting in that constituency?
Yes. Good evening to you. Good evening to my brother. Good evening to your cherished viewers. I'm actually trying to make my way to your studio. There's enormous traffic due to the voting activities around the Ayawaso East constituency. I have monitored what my brother from the NPP has said in terms of voter turnout. I mean, if you follow the trends of elections in Ghana, you would testify or agree with me that every by-election has its dynamics, and usually you have very low voter turnout. Now, in areas or in constituencies where you have very high voter turnout, you're looking at a percentage of between 45 to about 55% of voter turnout. That is sometimes when high voter turnout. And usually you have high voter turnout. So usually when you have only one party fighting for the seat and another party being very dormant or knowing that anyways, whatever effort we put in, we are not going to win the elections. It also affects the voter turnout because the voter turnout is not only the NDC vote, but it's usually a combination of all political parties and all persons who have come out to vote for their candidate. So as for our candidate, we have done the work that we need to do, and we know that out of the total number of voters that will turn out in their numbers to vote, nothing less than a 60% will vote. For Honorable Baba Jama. In the NPP, there's no need to engage in a fruitless exercise from their part. So I can understand why they didn't really put in so much effort in their campaign so far as the Ayawaso East constituency is concerned. So if there's a very low voter turnout, I think most of the blame should even be put at the doorstep of the NPP for being unable to mobilize their own voters to come out and vote for their candidate. But for us, we have been able to mobilize our voters to come out. And you know that there's no way we can have 100% voter turnout or a candidate winning 100%.
And Osman, I would like you to try and position rightly. We seem to lose you intermittently because of the poor internet connection. I know you're on your way to the studio. Hopefully you'll be here soon. But based on your checks on the ground, the results that are trickling in, Are you still confident that your candidate is leading?
That Honorable Baba Jamal will be the next member of parliament for Ayawaso East constituency. I'm sure in the next 1 hour or less, we should be able to, at least from our coalition center, we should be able to give you at least some provisional results, awaiting the EC's results. We are very confident. I don't think my brother Salam is thinking or dreaming of they winning this constituency. I'm sure that's why they didn't come out in their numbers to work or to even campaign, and that is what is resulting to the low voter turnout.
Okay, stay with me, Osman, and I know you're driving all the way here, so we're looking forward to you joining us in the studio shortly. Salam, do you want to respond to that? You didn't turn up at the polling centers because you know you'll be losing this. Is that the case?
Absolutely not. If you noticed, we did not go in with a strategy of razzmatazz and pomp and pageantry. Actually, let me commend the Greater Accra Regional Chairman Divine, and his executives, and the constituency executives for Ayawaso East. They proposed a certain path for us to chart, and after a series of deliberations, we decided to concede to the constituency and the region. And I must tell you that we have done a lot of work, morning, day, afternoon, evening. There were people on the ground campaigning. I have been in the constituency campaigning with the candidate, and even at a point, there are places that I went on my own to engage people that I know who live in the constituency. Almost all executives of the NPP have run through, but one thing we decided to do was to run a campaign that was in the shadows, less cameras, and more effectively working on the ground. Look, if we want to show you videos and pictures of doing house to house, you'll be marveled. And that's why we're able to elicit responses and views from the people. I see the excessive and uncanny confidence in my brother Osman. And it is the same narrative that the people are worried about, that they are being taken for granted, because they make it look as if it is a given. Whether we like it or not, the people, once they wake up, they will go and vote for the NDC. And it is that dastardly confidence that would make us see something like the low turnout that we are witnessing, that at a point the people lose trust completely in the system, because even those who are supposed to take them seriously don't. This is a constituency that has voted the NDC for all these years. But I can tell you that when you go, there are NDC people you meet, and they're a bit drawn back because they feel left out in the share of the national cake. And it is their constituency. We're hoping that at least by now, the people, they see that by now, they were hoping that at least some portions of their roads would have been fixed, as it was done in Akwitia, when around 2 a.m., midnight, machines were still on the road trying to fix it for the people. So if you are not doing same for the people of Ayawaso East, then it means that you have completely forsaken them and taken them for granted. And it is the same posturing that I see the NDC and all of their commentators and canvassers put across. Not long ago, I heard, Mustafa Bande, throw out a lot of gibberish. They forget to realize that they are in power and not more opposition. And that they should begin to become responsible in in their remarks, in how they talk. If you feel and you are in power that people in the NPP have misbehaved, they are corrupt, it's not the say-so of the man. Trigger the agencies of state to investigate and prosecute them. This we have challenged them. But all they're interested in is the political shenanigans, you know, and persecution of their opponents to score cheap political points. Except political point scoring, this government has not done anything significant to pinpoint one matter of corruption on the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo government since it came into office. And we have challenged
and we'll delve into that a little bit later, but I have in the studio with me the Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, Musa Dankwa. We appreciate your time here on the JoyNews channel. He actually predicted a win for Baba Jamal. They conducted a survey between February 28 to March 1, and he's predicting a 75% win for the NDC candidate. But we're seeing low voter turnout today. Do you think that will affect your projections in any way?
I mean, first and foremost, thank you very much for having me. Low turnout for by-elections are not unusual. It does happen. You will never get the same turnout in general election that you get in by-elections. So it will not be the same. In some cases, between 35, 40, 50%. If you even get 50%, it is quite high. If you look at the last election, what was the turnout nationally? And then, so the by-election this time, yeah, it will be drastically lower than that. And also, the month of Ramadan, you know, is also play an important role in that. Mostly in the morning, people are asleep, frankly. They are relaxing, and they get out in the afternoon. So that could also affect the impact. In terms of the impact of turnout in overall numbers, I don't see it changing the outcome as to who wins. But maybe there could be some kind of shift of numbers between the MPP and the independent guys, depending upon how it pans out. But we don't expect a dramatic kind of raise in terms of the overall outcome. We still expect Baba Jamal to win. The question is, will they get the margin that we gave them? That's another question that we have to wait for and see.
But in your assessment, what are the key factors driving the lead of the NDC?
No, it is heavily partisan. You know, the sample is about 75% NDC. And that is not different from what we saw in 2023 November. It's party affiliation. So it's heavily NDC. And when you have a heavy partisan constituency, they tend to vote the party way. And you hardly see them actually deviating unless there is a big issue of division that could really cause a problem. But the kind of numbers we see in Ayawaso East is too huge to swing the seat to another candidate beside the NDC.
And then I'm just looking at the numbers. You sampled 972 of the voters in Ayawaso East. But based on the data we have, we know there's about 49,966 voters in that constituency. Looking at the margin, you know, that would be the individuals you sampled would be about 1.9% of the total number of expected voters in that constituency. Won't that affect your projections?
Remember, we did national election with 2,500 sample compared to 18.5 million. We got it right. So it's about the margin of error. So the sample size is determined by the confidence level and the margin of error you want to entertain, and the proportion of people or the people who vote in Ayawaso East. So based on that, the sample that we've taken suggests that it will give us 95% confidence and a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. So that's what we can do. We can't go and sample 5,000 because we have 50,000 people in Nima. That's how it works in polling.
And we know that sometimes with by-elections, we can expect some twists and turns. Are you expecting any change looking at the turnout?
No, the change will not be about the overall outcome as who's going to win.
You're so confident that the NDC will be winning this.
Oh, yes, yes. I mean...
But Salam disagrees with you.
Yeah,
He's confident.
He has always been
that the NPP is winning.
He's always been disagreeing with me. Salam is a friend.
Salam, you want to respond to that concern?
Well, I mentioned already that he got the primaries wrong, and that polls themselves are not sacrosanct. And, you know, the real poll is what we have witnessed. So let's wait for the numbers to come together. Then we can now interrogate them.
Salam, stay with me. I'll come back to you to make that point. But